We're doing the thing. We're back to talk about stuff to geek out mightily. It is geek out. It is time to geek out.
To Shogun.
That's to Shogun. That's right. This is great. Episode 4 this week. Hi, everybody. It's Josh. I'm with Two Geeks, One Mike. You know me. Do you know me? You should know me. And if you don't, that's fine. You're going to get to know me real good. This is my friend Amber. Hi, Amber.
Hello. Good to be back.
Yeah, tell the people where you're from again as well, just in case this is the first episode they're catching.
Yeah, ye ol Road to Tarvalin. So Road to Tarvalin is my YouTube channel, currently covering this show, Shogun, Wheel of Time stuff, science fiction, fantasy. You got, I dabble. All the things.
Just geeking it up everywhere you go. I love it. I love it. It makes me feel so happy. It does my big geeky heart happy.
Me too.
Yes. This is a particularly fun collaboration. I don't think we talked about this last time, but you're in Europe.
I am.
I bet we could make a world sandwich.
We could. We need someone in like Australia or something, and then we can cover like some of the major time zones, I feel like.
Nice. That would be awesome. We should do that one day. We'll figure that out. But we're talking about Shogun, and oh my God. Okay, so if you've not started watching this show, we're on episode 4 right now, right? Episode 4 just came out a couple days ago. And the title of this episode is The Eightfold Fence. It's really great. Go to Road to Tarvalin and watch our discussion on episode 1. Then switch over to Two Geeks, One Mike. Watch episode 2 discussion. You go back to Road to Tarvalin for episode 3. Make sure you're subscribing to both channels because you don't want to miss this. All right? Don't want to miss this. And now here we are all the way to episode 4. And Amber, like your thoughts, hopes, and dreams going into this episode, what were they, and were you satisfied?
First off the bat, yes, 100% satisfied. Disappointed that I had to wait, that we have to wait a week to get to the next episode. But overall, what I found, I think, like the most surface level thought, we're missing Toranaga. So he's kind of in for a bit, then he's out. And then we're zoomed in on the province that Yabushiga is in charge of. And we're spending a lot of time with Mariko and Fuji-sama and Blackthorn. And I really liked more time spent with Mariko and with Fuji, because I think as many people watching this episode, I feel like Fuji-sama was the real deal. Like if you had to choose a favorite character of the episode, it's got to be her. That moment where she pulls the gun and just that hint of a smirk on her face, delightful.
You could tell in that moment that she really sort of steps into, because let's actually go back to the opening of the episode, because the opening of the episode is they're on the ship, they're heading into Yabushige's province, his little fishing village, I guess, and earlier a message was sent in advance that says, "Hey, Yabushige's coming back. Also, he's bringing Lord Toranaga. We need to really clean the place up and make it look good for Lord Toranaga.
Take the carpets outside, bat them down, wash the fish guts off of the ground.
Get scrubbing. Hold on, real quick tangent. Was that fish guts, or was that
one of Yabushiga's victims?
Or was that Blackthorn's crew?
Oh shoot! I mean, I hope not. I hope not. But that would be a very good twist, because as we've seen in this episode, Blackthorn is being barred from his ship, from
Yep.
his weapons, and he wants his men before he wants Toranaga to make good on his deal. He said,
Yes.
"Hey, I'll help you do this, but I want my men."
And
And
I keep, and I didn't think about it at first, right? But the second he was told, "Oh yeah, your men aren't here. We sent them to Edo." You what? This isn't good. Like I got a bad vibe right there. I was like, something's not right with this. And I immediately went back to the blood, like washing all that blood off that thing, and I was like, oh.
well, that would go very well with this theme that we've seen of each person having three hearts and having to shield your thoughts and hide your plans. And this is also something that we see Toranaga speak to his son about, because at one point earlier in the season, his son is like, "I want to help. Why can't I do this?" And he's like, "Whoa, buddy. Like, whoa. Like, you don't understand how the game is played yet."
Yes.
And Toranaga is the ultimate, like, chess player.
Yep.
So these, three hearts, if he's seen something and done something with Blackthorn's crew, I would not be surprised. But I'm also really hoping that we get to see them again, because I don't want to see Blackthorn
Well,
be hurt like that.
and it could also not necessarily even be,
Toranaga.
Toranaga's doing. We've learned that around Toranaga, he's surrounded by idiots. I mean, and these people keep doing stuff, and he keeps being like, ugh. And it's really frustrating for him. But on the ship, one of the few people who really seem to get it is Mariko. And she's the one who delivers the news to Fuji. And Fuji, as we recall back from episode 1, is the wife of the guy who killed their son and himself, leaving her without a purpose, without a place in this society. And she's spent the last 4 episodes wanting to kill herself, like begging for permission. Please let me die. This is bullshit. I don't like it. And Toranaga tells Mariko to say, "Hey, get Fuji and tell her I want her to be Blackthorn's consort. I want her to serve him, take care of his house, blah blah blah. As soon as we get there, we're going to get him a house. We're going to get him set up." And she is like, "Really?" She is not happy about this.
Yeah, it's like, what have I done to deserve this?
Right?
Like,
She
it
makes it as
seems
an
like,
insult.
yeah, it seems like every step of the way, like, she's somehow being punished for someone else's misdeeds, I guess. And I mean, I know that in the context of this story, it's all about honor, and, there's that whole background to it. But now it's like just another upset in her life, where it's like, this man is basically a dog to her. Like, he's a barbarian. And I really enjoyed her story as a standout this episode.
She really did bring some real depth of flavor and characterization to this story, because damn, she has some real impressive moments. She finally agrees, because Mariko is really, really good at getting people to do things. But where Toranaga has asked her for an entire year, she says, best I can do is 6 months.
Yeah.
Mariko then goes to Toranaga and says, "Hey, she'll give you 6 months." And Toranaga's like, "Fine, 6 months, fine. We can work with that." I also got the impression that he was almost like, "I wasn't expecting a year anyway, so that works out."
Right. He had already planned for the eventuality
Right?
that she had a counter offer.
And I loved this moment too because Toranaga's son speaks out and is like, "Well, all right, with the news, that'll work out fine." And as they're bowling up, and I can't even remember what was exactly said, but basically Toranaga's son drops the whole bomb of, "Yes, there's news. Once everybody learns, this is gonna be a big deal." And Yabashige's like, "What news? What news? Like
Yeah.
what don't I know?" And he's
Mhm.
immediately like sort of incensed, as rightfully so, I think. But mostly because he's just a conniving weasel.
I love
And
his ability to want to play every side.
yes,
Like he's a weasel, but he's incredibly interesting because his alliance, like you never know. Total
he
wild card.
he's actually really good at playing both sides, which I would argue makes him, which we see in this episode, and I would argue actually kind of makes him less of a weasel, more of a politico.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, "Wow, you're not necessarily a weasel. I mean, you are, but that is rooted in survival." And he
Yeah.
gets it. He's like, "Look, I might be a big fish in a little pond here, but I'm trying to make sure that I stay the big fish in a little pond." We even get in the last episode where he was offered, one of the positions of a regent, and he was like, "Oh, no, 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 no! I don't want that. I
Yeah.
don't want that." And he is someone who very much knows what he's capable of, and he's someone who's very much like, "I'm happy where I'm at. If I can just swim in my little pond here, life will be perfect."
Yeah. What I think is great about him too is his ability to play all of the sides. If you could
Yeah,
somehow be trusting of him and harness that Politico side of him and know that he would be not actually, being a someone who's going to screw you over, but if you could
right.
harness it, he would be such an incredible ally to have. And I think maybe that's something that Toranaga is counting on. Like,
Yes,
hey, he also has a pretty dope army, so that's out
that's
there as well.
that's actually kind of one of the things that was one of the thoughts I had. Now, granted, for TV, for filming and stuff like that, you can take 100 people and make it look impressive, right?
Yeah.
But when they pulled up to Yabashige's village and that whole military show of force was
There
there, it was so great. They get off board, and Yabushige is kind of like he's flexing, right? He is like making a parade, and he is being like, "Oh, Lord Tornaga, we honor you," but he's also kind of flexing. He's also like,
yeah.
"Look what I can do." And
Mhm.
they get up there, and they're like, "Yabushige, whoo! Yabushige, whoo! Yabushige,
Yabashige-sama!
whoo!" Yeah,
Yabashige-sama!
yeah, that one. And it was great. It was awesome. And Toranaga immediately is kind of like, "Cool, nice flex. Uh, I love this army. It would be a shame if they were to, I don't know, switch allegiances." And
Mhm.
immediately jumps in and is like, "Ah, yes, Yabashige, my good friend and close ally,"
Yeah.
says it out loud in public in front of his entire military,
Yep.
thus solidifying sort of Yabushige's duty, I guess, his honor
Yeah.
bound duty to Toranaga. And then it's like seriously within like 3 sentences, and then all of a sudden the military's like, "Toranaga-sama, woo! Toranaga-sama, woo!"
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. And Yabashige is like, "Well, shit, that backfired."
Yeah, he Toranaga makes some statements about indirectly, but kind of, talking about some type of injustice or something like that. And like, yeah, we're together, wahoo, like group, and goodbye off on his little boat. So like he did put it out there that there's something politically happening that
Yeah.
is wrong, and it's like we're a team now, and everyone out there, they heard it. So like the
Yep.
alliance has been set as much as it can be, depending on Yabushiga's future actions. But one of the things that I really loved about that scene is just when they roll up, Blackthorn is like, whoa, whoa. And I loved how him seeing that. And I mean, he, like he's got guns, he's got cannons, but that
Yeah.
was a sight, enough of a sight to make him be like, uh-oh, what's this?
Well, and he's also kind of got the a reminiscent feeling, as it were. These are the people who so graciously received him in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the series, and they even have that moment because it was as Omi,
Yeah.
who's sort of like the village mayor, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
right there at Yabashiga's side, and Blackthorn is, when they're doing their introduction, Blackthorn's like, actually, we've met, and this
the
is
most brilliant insults of all time that I've
oh
ever heard
God, I
have come from
love
this
it.
show. You sniveling little yes.
I love this is one of those moments that we keep coming back to where we talk about this show is so like engaging, right, intellectually,
Yeah.
because you're all about the political intrigue. It's brewing up to a really great combat, a really great war, a really great battle, and you're like, we don't know how that's going to be, but we already know they're not willing to pull their punches when it comes to graphic details of injuries,
Yeah.
and we learn later on in this episode how far they're willing to go with that. But it's one of those moments where we're dying laughing, like, because I love
Yeah.
Blackthorn's just like, it's got the smile on his face, and he's
Yes.
just like, oh yes, tell this piece of shit asshole dickhead that I hate him and I hope he dies painfully.
Yeah.
Oh, and Mariko is like, I don't know how to even translate that.
Right? It's so good. It's really good. I mean, I would have liked the show without the layers of humor, as it is, but this
Yes,
just, it just adds something a little special to it. And speaking of like adding something a little bit special to it, I have to bring up Fuji again because I didn't know that that was something that I needed. Like after I
yes.
saw it, I was like, well, this might be the best part of the episode. But had it not been in this episode, I probably would have loved it anyways. So it makes it special.
Yes, I agree. It it's so good, and that's actually what we're coming up to next, because that's kind of what happens, right? Toranaga's like, "Hey, thanks everybody, you guys rock. Try the deal.
Yeah.
I'll be here all week." JK, and then he bounces. He like
Yeah.
leaves his son, and he's like, "Oh, Daddy's got work to do. I'm gonna bounce." And so Mariko is like, "Cool. Guess what? This is your house."
Mhm.
And he's like, "My what?" It's like,
Yeah.
"This is your gardener. This is your this is Fuji. She's gonna be your consort." And Blackthorn's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I don't want any of this. I don't want a house. I don't want a consort. I don't want." I loved it. Mariko was like, "Oh yeah, you've been given a generous salary. You have 240 cocoa a month."
He's like, I
And
don't
he's
want a
like, "I
house. I
don't
don't.
want any bloody cuckoos or anything."
Yes.
He's he's
Yeah.
he's learned that he can't board his ship without permission. He's very, very frustrated. And now they're like, "Oh yeah, you'll be here for like 6 months, no problem." And he's like, "That's
Prisoner.
not what I wanted at
Prisoner.
all."
Yeah.
And yeah, and God, Blackthorn, he's just such a smart dude. Every time it's real easy to look at him and go, with the Japanese, again, we're going back to the theme of East meets West.
Yeah.
You've got the Japanese people and their basic culture where, hygiene is a thing, medicine is a thing. These different things that have evolved in Japanese culture that haven't evolved in European culture. But European culture has things that have evolved that haven't evolved in Japanese culture. So you've got this really, really, really intelligent guy who seems like a barbarian because he is brash, he is loud, he is, very
He doesn't keep his third heart hidden like all
that's
of the
right.
Japanese do. It's right on the sleeve with
It's
him.
right there out there for everyone to see, and it's kind of messing with everybody, right? Because they're like, what? How do we even
How do we
deal?
tame him? Yeah.
We don't even know what to do. The only one unconcerned with it is Tornaga. He's like, no. This is going to be great.
Right?
And so we get, he gets the news. He's like, fine, I've got my thing. He's having hard time sleeping in the new house. Then we come to what I'm trying to figure out, how did he come to the guns in the first place? Did Mariko like sneak them to him?
I'm
Is that what
not
happened?
sure. He asked for them and they told him you're not allowed to board your ship. So I think
Right.
it was implied like we can have someone get them for you, but you're not allowed to
Okay.
go get them yourself,
So
possibly.
so Mariko, brings him out these guns, and he is just very happy to have them, because I'm sure I mean, I can't really blame the guy. I mean, he's gone from a prison to a prison where one of his dudes was boiled alive. He's seen
Multiple
people
assassination
executed,
attempts.
assassination attempt, and he's walking around in a robe and no weapons.
Yeah.
And it's just like the poor guy, like he needs something to feel a little secure. So Mariko gives him these pistols, and he's happy again. He's happy. Blackthorn is happy again. All is right with the world.
I wonder
Until
if anything, so this is just a random thought, but the houses there are so much different. Like they're paper houses, and Mariko even talks about how
yeah,
they build them that way so that, if they fall apart, they can just rebuild them. And he doesn't have like four walls that he's used to, so maybe he does feel very like defenseless. So like those guns,
yeah,
that would make a big difference to him being in a
I
paper
can see that.
house.
I could see that. I mean, you got to think too. Like, what are the hallmarks of a paper house? You can hear everything. You probably get a good breeze all the
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
There's probably a lot to it. You're probably not wrong there. That could very well be something that kind of contributed, because, like I
He's
said, he's
pacing a
having trouble
lot.
sleeping. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like pacing, walking out in the rain, stepping on the moss like an asshole.
The hell's wrong with you, Blackthorn? Why would you walk on the moss? God,
Yeah.
barbaric.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also too like this is his new home, and he has like this kind of like found family with Mariko and
Yeah,
Fuji. So it's
sort of,
interesting.
sort of an unwilling thing too. Sort of
Mhm.
a comedy of errors that have kind of brought them all to this point,
Yes.
and it works. It works.
Mhm.
As we see at the end of the episode, oh god, it's so good. But so he's got his pistols, and it's time for him to go out and train this regiment in warfare. And Omi comes to collect him
Yeah.
and is like, "No, you're not allowed to have your weapons." And Blackthorn's like, "Over my dead body, like I'm not surrendering my weapons." And Omi's like,
Mhm.
"Yes, you are. You're surrendering." And it like things escalate real quick, right? Omi's like, "We got their swords out. They're ready to do it." And Blackthorn's just boom. Come on, try me.
I
Try me.
You know what I love about that scene is it was giving like Western to me, like old
Yeah.
Western because of the angle of the camera, because it was like a cowboy shot. You had him like barreled like
Yes.
right there, and I was like, "Ooh, that was something." And the way that they
So good.
cut to like showing Omi and his posse back and like forward, I'm like, "Ooh, this is getting good. What's happening?"
It definitely felt. I love where you're going with that too, because and a lot of people don't realize, or maybe a lot of people do, But old samurai movies and cowboy westerns have a lot more in common than you think.
Mm.
A lot of the classic cowboy movies are based on samurai movies. The Magnificent Seven,
Okay.
based on The Seventh Samurai.
Mm.
Yojimbo, which was an old Kurosawa film, is like Clint Eastwood made all of the Kurosawa films as cowboy movies.
Okay.
It's amazing. It's
I
really
didn't I
amazing.
didn't know that at all.
You
So that's
didn't know
pretty
that?
cool.
Oh yeah.
No. No.
So you definitely want and I've got a list somewhere because one of these days what I want to do is I want to do that, and I actually want to do it on Two Geeks. So if you're watching Two Geeks, hit the subscribe. You do not want to miss this, because what I want to do is I want to watch the classic samurai movie with the corresponding western.
Okay.
But like The
Okay.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's a classic Clint Eastwood film. It's a samurai movie written by Akira Kurosawa. Like,
That's
it's
wild. That's wild. I mean, like, it would be really interesting if so that shot that I'm talking about was intentional then, and not just
right.
like, hey, like not just me being like, it kind of reminds me of this.
So is it intentional? Is it an oh my god, okay. Word. Is it an intentional homage to
Mhm.
Western movies, or is it the style that Japanese films are shot at
Right.
that the old Western films
A
sort of mimic
remind yeah.
to
Yeah.
get that feeling? And so now that's the style that, in our Western culture, that's what we think of is the old cowboy movies. So
Yeah.
I love that you brought that up. I
Yeah.
absolutely
That's
love that you
cool.
brought that up, because that is so true. And I didn't really think anything, because like I said, I've made a whole like list, and I've got this whole study in my brain of how I'd love to just have this movie marathon one of these days and do a
Yeah.
side by side comparison. And yeah, no, so great point. Great.
Hey,
I
that's why
love
we're
that.
here. That's why we're
Perfect.
here.
Now everybody else knows.
Now you all
Old
know.
Western movies. Clint Eastwood, he just watched Kurosawa films as a kid and was like, you know what? If that guy were a cowboy instead of a samurai, that would be cool.
I mean, you even see it too with the way that they have some of these shots where it's very like silhouetted, where if you were watching a Western, you've got that bright blazing sun from
Yes.
behind and you see like the dark, shadowy figure. You also get a little bit of that in this series, just with the film, the cinematography as well.
Yeah.
It's beautiful though.
It's perfect. It's so good.
Different color palette, but like same kind of like silhouetted figures.
Yes. I love it. I love it so much. So things are getting tense. Mariko is doing her best to try and calm everybody down and be like, Blackthorn, if he says you can't have your guns, you can't have your guns. Like, they will kill you. And Blackthorn's like, I don't care. Like, I'm not doing this
Yeah.
again. I have my hands back and I'm not giving them up. And this is where Fuji, do you want to tell this one? I will let you tell this one, because
Sure.
this is where
Sure.
she steps up. Mm,
She steps up and she tells Mariko and says, "Tell him to give me his guns." And Mariko explains it to Blackthorn, and Blackthorn doesn't quite get it yet because again, like he's not incredibly accustomed to the culture where he's still figuring out how this honor-based society works. And he doesn't realize like handing them over to Fuji is saying is yeah, Mariko explains it and she's saying like she would kill or she would die to save your
right.
weapons, to protect you and your weapons. I don't remember the exact wording, but he admittedly like gives in and he's like, okay, okay. And I loved how she pulls, the sleeves, the hands
Yep.
aren't showing, and she holds them so daintily. And you get that like she's just this like so like light on her feet and so delicate. And then like within a flash, she's got the weapons cocked at
At Omi.
Omi. And
Woo!
Blackthorn is like, oh, okay. Like she wasn't joking. Like she really would protect them because Omi wanted to take them from Fuji. And she was like, not today, bucko. Not
Not
today.
today.
But I think this moment really solidifies like Blackthorn becoming a bit more trustful, being able to like loosen up around Fuji and Mariko a little bit. Like it feels like there's some real trust here. I don't know how far that trust can go. I assume though with Fuji, she's not messing around and she's there to do her duty and she's going to do a hell of a job doing it and she doesn't take this lightly.
And I love I love exactly what you're saying. It was at the drop of a hat. You know, Mariko goes from this very dainty, very demure, you know, and she's got the guns and she's holding them with both hands. And you know, Omi's like, all right, cool, now give them to me. And she just
Yeah.
step off, bitch. And she does too. She's just like, be on your way. You're done here.
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
you to be on your way. And Omi's like, oh shit. Like he has this real sort of realization moment or moment of satori, as they say. And he has this, he goes, oh no, they're not playing. Like this guy's the real deal. They do consider him to be Hatamoto.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to like, and so, you know, Omi, you know, oh yeah, okay, we're good. We'll bow. And, you know, you can see they're all very like freaked out by this.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to be threatened by a know-nothing barbarian. It's another thing entirely to be threatened by the official consort of the Hatamoto. Like,
Right. And I get the feeling that Fuji is beloved, you know, like
well,
Toranaga has
she holds a
plans for
position of honor, right?
right.
Because
Like
yes,
she's
she's endured a great
special.
loss, but that's still a very honorable. Like she would be very honored in that society because of how well she is, you know, hiding that third heart.
Right. And I mean, too, I believe like she was a part of Toranaga's inner circle too. So it's like I almost see her as like kind of like a daughter figure to Toranaga, where she's begrudgingly being like given stuff to do that she initially doesn't want to do,
Right.
but Toranaga has a plan for her. And I think too, like as much as Fuji didn't want to do this, I think Toranaga saw like this is a place for her. This is something for her to do. And it is still like a place of honor, but she just didn't know at the time like that she would end up being okay with it or
Right.
growing to have a mutual understanding with Blackthorn. I don't know if I want to say friendship yet, but I feel like it's headed in that direction.
Yeah. Well, at this point in time, she is doing exactly what she was instructed to do, which
Yes.
is to be a consort, run the house, take care of the finances, do which let's talk about this for a second too. How many ancient
Okay.
societies allowed women to run the house and run the finances?
Right?
That was probably also kind of a shock to Blackthorn, who came from a very Western mentality where women did not have a lot of these kinds of
Yeah.
responsibilities.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, look at Mariko. Like she's a translator. Like she's employed pretty much by Toranaga. So I mean,
Yep.
she's doing stuff too.
So that's got to play into Blackthorn's frustration, where he feels. I almost wonder if he feels like he's being toyed with, like he doesn't feel like he's being taken seriously, right?
Oh, that's a good point to make. Like, yeah, like I'm surrounded by these women. Like,
Like
is
women, like
this, yeah,
is this a joke? Am I being punked? Like what's going on right now?
right. Like, why are these two women like following me around everywhere? Are they spying on me? Are they like you don't trust me, but also like you don't see me as a threat because it's just two women, you know? Like
Right? But that again, West versus East, where you've got
right.
Western culture who has women. Yes, women exist all over the world, but their roles and responsibilities vary tremendously throughout different societies in the world. And so when Fuji like busts out, puts that gun right in Omi's face and is like, "Step off." Blackthorn he has this kind of moment where he's like, "Oh, hi."
I loved the I loved the evolution of all of the smirks on all of the faces because at first like Fuji just like the most faint, barely there like smirk, and then Mariko a little bit wider, and then you get to Blackthorn and he's like, "Oh, okay." Like but I mean it had to have been so like so wonderful for him to see like these men
Yeah.
just kind of like scurry off into the sunset due to the most fearsome woman in the
Yes.
Japans, as he says.
The Japans, yes. So he we have this little moment where Fuji shows her grit, her third
Hmm.
heart. Um she goes or Blackthorn goes off with Mariko and Omi and his retinue, and they go to the training grounds where he's like, yeah, no, it's time to train my troops. And he starts talking about a historic battle.
I love
And
him thinking on the fly. Like, well,
right, he's like,
fuck
shit, now
it.
I've got to put up or shut up. Like, I've been
Yeah.
talking a lot about keeping your end of the bargain, and oh yeah, now I got to keep my end of the bargain.
I love how he paces and he's like, well, so you see.
I love that he starts like almost like mouth vomiting, just
Yeah.
like, you can say it was this happened, and then this happened,
Yeah.
and these people came in, and Mariko's like, what?
Bro, take a breath.
Yamashita's like, what's he saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
and and I love that once again we get to see Blackthorn's sort of brilliance, because
Hmm.
he's a very quick thinker. He thinks very quickly on his feet, and he says, "Wait a minute, I'm not a soldier. And I said this. I told Toranaga, I'm not a soldier. I'm a sailor.
Hmm.
However, I can teach them about naval warfare, which is something you guys don't have at all. And if Toranaga is
Right.
the only one who can launch an assault from sea, he'll be unstoppable."
Yeah.
Um, which is kind of interesting, because historically speaking, in Japan, that's eventually what happens. Is once the shogun is reestablished, he closes their borders, and this is how he does it. He has a ship blockade that basically any ship that approaches Japan, sink them, go
Yeah.
away. We don't want you there, and that's what closes Japan off for hundreds of years. Um,
If Blackthorn only knew what he was,
right.
giving away. I mean, obviously, I'm Team Toranaga all the way, but we'll see. We'll see.
We will see. So he says to them, like, I'm going to teach you guys how to do this, and he says, I need the cannons off my ship. So a little bit of time skippy magic, because it's TV and we don't want to watch them sit there for 2 hours while.
Unloading cannons.
So they bring the cannons, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is so stupid. The Portuguese already tried to sell us cannons, and they suck. Like, they
Yeah.
don't. They're not accurate. They're not effective. They don't work. Whatever." And we see Blackthorn is learning Japanese, right? He's learning certain words, and he's telling people, "Move those targets back further. Move those targets back further," and everybody's laughing. And he comes in and he like sights in all the cannons, and then goes, "Okay, fire, 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 fire." 4 shots, 4 targets destroyed, and everybody
Mhm.
goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, Okay, maybe his cannons are better.
Yeah, Yabushiga really lights up in that moment. Like that was nice.
That's probably the most devastating show of power that's been shown in this entire series
Yeah.
to date,
Yeah.
as of now. And I like that they're kind of doing their thing. Everything's going great with it, and we get the sense that, again, some time has passed by, and he's teaching. He's training cannoneers. He's training the different
Yeah.
teams to how to aim, how to work the cannons, how to load and clean and all that kind of stuff. And which one happens first? Oh, the gift exchange happens first.
Yeah, the netto where he's trying the netto.
So there it's so he goes home after a long day of teaching people how to shoot cannons, and comes home, and it's him and Mariko and Fuji, and they're eating, and he's like looking at his food like, what is this? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of, again, he's blackthorning all over the place, because he's like, what are you guys eating?
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't think you're ready for this, Chumbo. And he's like, what are you? I want to try some.
Do you
And
think
so
that
they're
he
finally
saw it
like,
as a challenge, or he
yeah.
was genuinely like, or did he think like they were holding out the good stuff, so he wanted it?
I think
Like,
it's a bit of both. I think
okay.
it was, at first it was curiosity, and he was like, what do you guys have? Like, why don't I have that?
Yeah.
And then when they were like, you can't handle it, he's like, bet. Let's go. I've been a sailor. You don't know the kinds of things I've eaten.
Mhm.
Let's go.
Right?
And then they bring it. I didn't look up natto. I don't know what that is. So
I think it's like a fermented bean, I want to say.
Oh, is it?
I
Oh,
think so.
is it those weird looking sticky beans that people have?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
I'm
And
looking
I
it
think
up right now.
Netto.
It
I don't
is. You are
know.
correct. Natto is a traditional Japanese food made from whole soybeans that have been fermented with Bacillus subtilis var natto, variation natto. It is often served as a breakfast food with rice. It is served with karashi mustard, soy, or tare sauce, and sometimes Japanese bunching onion. So
Okay.
he eats it, and he's like, it's like cheese, like spoiled
That's
cheese.
that's such a good Blackthorn impression. That was
Thank you.
surprisingly good.
um, then probably one of the most heartwarming moments as of yet happens.
Yeah, yeah.
He looks at Fuji, and he's like, look, you're so good to me. I really appreciate it, and I want to give you a gift to show you my gratitude. And gives her one of his pistols.
Yeah.
And Mariko is translating between them, and she's going, I can't accept this. And he says straight up, he's like, look, this is one of the finest pistols. I will miss it greatly. And I want you to know that, so that you can know the depth of my gratitude. And
Yeah.
Fuji is like freaked out, like, I can't accept this. And Mariko is like, look, he's trying to be kind. Please accept the gift. And Fuji's like, okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
I've got a gift for you. Brings out her family's katana.
That's like, do you think
Oh,
Blackthorn understands the weight of this gesture yet? No.
it got me in the feels so much, because again, I don't know that there's anything sort of romantic happening between him and Fuji. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I sure hope not.
Right.
But I agree exactly with what you said. I don't think Blackthorn fully understands the weight of that gesture yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think he understands that it is a very large gesture.
Yeah.
And he understands that she just gave me a very big gift. And once again, tries to refuse, tries to be like, I don't even know what to do with those. I can't use them. That's not going to help. And Mariko's like, you will insult her tremendously if you do not accept these. This is a big deal. And you are Hatamoto. You should be carrying swords. It doesn't matter that you can't use them. As your station requires, you should have swords to carry, and these ones will give you legitimacy. And he's like, cool, I accept. And I just thought, wow, what a heartwarming moment. Like, taking a look at what Fuji's been through. You know, she's recently lost her husband and child, infant child. Is still grieving that loss, has stepped into this new role, has already threatened a dude with his life.
Yeah.
That's a big transition to make. And here she is just killing it. And Blackthorn is still very his personality is still very grating on those around him.
Yeah.
And so for her to be showing this sort of deference and loyalty to this man is probably a difficult thing for her to do. And he presents her with these gifts. And I love that they both have this very human moment where they go, okay, we don't understand each other fully, but in this moment, we do understand each other. And what we're saying is we're grateful for each other. We're grateful that, you know, in this crazy whirlwind, we have each other to hang on to and depend on. And I think that's such a big moment.
Can I ask you something? So, had things been different and her husband and son would not have, you know, died, would that sword have gone to her child?
Yes.
Okay. So
yeah, Mariko says very specifically that those were family swords. And she is, so when her husband and child died, again, another thing that happened in this Eastern society that didn't happen in Western society is that she was the heir of the family. Now, she couldn't carry the swords because it's not befitting, but she owns them. They are hers. And when she gave them to, I don't think she like gave them as in, here, these are yours forever. I think what she did was, you may wear these.
Yeah.
You may use these should need arise. So that's an important distinction to make. But it's a big deal because those are absolutely family swords. Those are probably the swords her husband was carrying.
Right.
And then
that's like gut wrenching because knowing that probably would have went to her child and now she has to like see this guy wearing them. So like hopefully in some weird messed up way it's helping her grieve. I don't know. Could be making things worse, but I hope it's not, you know.
Right.
Like that's rough. That is rough.
It is. It's such a hard place to be. But again, I think they both sort of bond on that kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
He's far away from home. He's missing his kids. He's a signal in the night, you know. He's an island. He's alone. And when she kind of steps up and stands by his side, you know, I kind of feel like you get this moment where, you know, he's been depending on Mariko because he has to, right? And the relationship has flourished. Like, don't get me wrong, they're becoming more and more acquainted. But Fuji is the first relationship that he has developed with someone not out of necessity. This isn't like, I don't have the ability to say no to this. This is very much him saying no to this and her being like, okay, dude, you're being stupid. I got your back still though. And him going, oh, like I have friends. And so this is the first friendship. This is the first relationship he has that seems to be more of a choice than anything else, and seems to be born out of sort of a mutual respect.
Yeah, because he's letting her in, like he's opened that door for her to be a part of this like found family, I'm gonna call it, because it's a little bit awkward. But yeah, like he with Mariko, it was a friendship based out of necessity.
Right.
Here, it kind of just naturally evolved.
And I like it. Because it just fits, it just works, and you have this really sweet moment where they're all sitting around eating dinner, and it's great. Then after dinner, he goes off to take a swim.
Yes, sir.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah.
This is actually we didn't discuss this. This is actually the second spicy scene we get coming
Mhm.
up. But we got some spicy scenes in this episode, so that was nice.
We did with
Um,
Omi's
Omi was getting
lady
it
friend.
on,
Yeah.
getting it busy.
You know what though? Let's talk about that for just a second, because she land feared him. She very seductively
That
put
she
some words
did.
in his ear, and he went and used his way of intrigue into pretty much tricking Toranaga's son into making a choice at the end of this episode. So like Omi was playing some games and he was doing it well.
Which is another reason that makes me think maybe Blackthorn doesn't have a crew, because Omi seems to be someone who's just off in La La Land doing his own thing, because
Yeah, because
he's the big bad powerful dude with the biggest dick in the room, and I can do whatever I want. It doesn't matter. There are no consequences for me because I'm too powerful.
right, as long as Yabushiga's not in town, he pretty much has free range, it seems like, to do what he wants.
Yes.
And it also, like we've talked about Yabushiga, we kind of know now what he wants. He wants to be the big fish in the small pond. But now we've introduced Omi into that equation, where you get the idea that Omi himself might be pretty happy with taking Yabushiga's power. So this is, plans within intrigue within
Yeah.
lots going on.
So we've got again they're doing so good with the political intrigue, because we got so many moving pieces, and I don't feel I know at times in books like Game of Thrones or in Wheel of Time, where you've got the political plot points, the political intrigue plot points, where you're kind of going, wait, who is doing what to who, what? And you
Yeah.
kind of feel lost in the flow there. But Shogun's doing a good job of making sure that we are kind of like, okay, yeah, this guy's doing that. Yeah. Oh, ooh, whoa, why is he doing that? I don't know.
Yeah.
The writing is done really, really well in that aspect.
Yeah, they've done a good job of keeping some of it veiled, but also giving us enough of the motivations to where decisions make sense. It's like,
Yes.
okay, that's logical. I understand why he's doing that. Got it.
So Blackthorn goes off to take a bath. Mariko follows him, and she's like, I'm glad you changed your mind about bathing.
Yeah.
And they have this. I mean, okay, and here
It's
we
super
go.
intimate, super intimate.
And I'm actually not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of
Okay.
this scene. I like
Okay.
how it was done. Cool, great. But what I don't like about it, I don't want Blackthorn and Mariko to get romantic. I don't want this.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't
No, that's
want a
fine.
romance plot between Blackthorn and Mariko, because it's just going to set this whole stupid scene up for Buntaro to come back and be like, haha, of
Yeah.
course I survived. I'm an amazing warrior. Why would you doubt me? Wait a minute. That's my wife. She's in love with the barbarian. I will now kill the barbarian. Like,
I don't know though. Have faith, because
I will.
From what I took from that, not that scene, but the following scene where it's the next morning and he's, happy as can be, sitting
Hmm.
on the
He
porch.
he worked out a little bit of tension and frustration the morning or the evening prior.
Yeah. Also hilarious. He's like, I will not be pillowing with anyone, near anyone, pillowing next to anyone. Sir, turns out that was a lie. But um I love how Mariko was like, yeah, it was good thing we sent you that courtesan.
that gift.
And yeah, and he was like, what? So like she had played it in front of him. Saying that out loud signifies to him we can't talk about this, and this is the
Yes.
story. This is what happened. So as long
Yes.
as, she's not pregnant and it's a white baby, I don't think anybody's going to find out. I feel like I can trust Fuji. But I wanted to ask you something.
All right.
What do you think it was that made Mariko interested in him?
I
'Cause
see. This is again for me. This is part of why I'm like so kind of iffy about it, because to me it's so okay. Let's go back to the themes of the episode. Right. We've talked
Mhm.
about the three hearts,
Yeah.
and in this moment, Mariko is telling him about the eightfold fence, in which
Yes.
you will never know what's inside someone's fence. That is something we protect. That is
Mhm.
something we hold dear, and we don't let you see that. They're speaking, they're talking, and the oh gosh, I feel like what maybe did it is Blackthorn is his defenses are wearing down, right?
Mhm.
He's opening up.
Yeah.
For the first time, Mariko is single and alone.
That's true.
He is being very sincere. And again, I think we have this very human moment where he's describing his home and saying, "Oh, we'd see the Queen, and then we'd go for a walk, and then we'd go to a play." And she's, I think she gets swept up in the fantasy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Like
I think like everybody
this is a
would.
fun story. Like this
Yeah,
is a nice story.
like anyone would. Like, when someone sits down and says, "No, no, 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 I want to take you to someplace exotic, and we're going to do all these amazing things, and you're going to have the best time, and I'm going to treat you to
Mhm.
everything." Like, that's a nice fantasy. Like, it would
Yeah.
work on me. Like, anybody wants to come over and be like, "I'm going to take you to Disney,
Josh,
and
we're
we're going
going to
to
Star Tours.
lightsaber."
We are
Yes,
wearing the we are wearing the Mickey ears.
I'm in. I'm in. Take me now. Take me. But again, I think it's kind of and maybe this is another reason why it feels a little off to me, because it feels
Mhm.
kind of like we just had this moment with Fuji. Now we're having this moment with Mariko. Maybe that moment could have been had with Mariko in the next episode, and it might have been a little bit better. I don't know. There's just something to me personally that felt a little. It felt a
Off.
little out of left field for me, I guess.
Okay.
Like, I'm not really sure where it came from. But again, I can see the story, and I feel like, maybe she got swept up in the fantasy. She was, for whatever reason, I don't think she was sneaking up trying to get a peek. It was bright dark, pitch dark. She's carrying a bright torch. There's no
Mhm.
sneaking around with that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so I almost wonder if she was like, giving Fuji a night off. Like, I'll stay up with him. Go ahead, go to sleep,
Yeah.
because he doesn't sleep.
Do you know what it reminded me of? It
What?
it absolutely 1000% reminded me of the Wheel of Time when you have a character who is traveling with a woman and she all of a sudden she thinks he's an I mean she doesn't think he's an idiot, but she thinks he's a little bit of an idiot. And then as soon as she
Which comes
sees
with the
him,
territory of being a man.
yeah. As soon as she sees him with his men and commanding
Yeah.
and doing something, then it's like, oh, there's substance behind him. Like when he's running around commanding these dudes, hammer that wedge in here, you back up, you go over here, like move further. There's
Yeah.
something about that where I felt like she was kind of like, huh, okay, like this,
That's a good point.
he might be like, he might surprise us. And
That's a really good point, because she spends a lot of time like writing in her little journal, and she's
mhm,
very much she's gazing, like she's
yeah,
got the gaze, like, oh, that's a good point. So maybe seeing him in his element, where he knows
yeah,
what he's talking about, he knows what he's doing, and
right,
not, it's that adage of you know just because people are different doesn't mean one is smart and one is dumb. If we
yeah,
constantly judge fish by their ability to climb a
to
tree,
fly, yeah,
we're
exactly.
gonna think everybody's stupid. And I guess, that's a really good point. That actually makes that scene make a lot more sense for me. I guess I just kind of didn't put those two together.
Because
Huh.
I'm just gonna say, because as me being a woman watching him like running around and like being like, you do that, you do this, there's something about like someone taking charge and showing their intellect where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I see you differently. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hey, good point. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're
I,
welcome.
I love to. I feel. I love to. I feel like whenever you have. There's two kinds of spicy scenes in a show like this, right? There's the Omi scene where it's like something sinister and dastardly is happening,
Yeah.
and you can totally tell Omi is simping. Like he's
Yeah.
simping hard. He's like, "Oh, I love you so much." And it's like, "Oh, bro."
He walked right into it.
And but then you have this one that's a little bit more intimate, a little bit more sincere, and you have what I love in these moments is what I call the perfect morning after scene.
Yeah.
And they sit there and watch the rain and have breakfast, and it's all three of them just vibing, like
Yeah.
just having a great morning. He's finally happy for I don't know how, for the first time in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
She's like, this guy's actually pretty cool. I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited. And Fuji's over there like, we got this. We got this on lock, guys. This is gonna
We're
be awesome.
team. We're team.
I'm
Go
gonna use
team.
my guns. I'm gonna be the most feared lady in the Japans.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was pretty good. We missed a piece though. Prior to this, because when
Okay.
they were out of their practice, Lord Ishido had sent a detachment, and Ishido's men, Josen, had showed up to talk to
Chosen.
Yabashige, right? And
Yes.
Toranaga's son is with Yabashige to make sure he stays in line.
Mhm.
And these guys show up, and again, we see, as we talked about earlier, Yabashige, really, really skilled politico, and tells him, hey, first off, they tell him, you've been summoned to Osaka. You need to come back to Osaka now. And he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Just, hang on for a second. I can't do that right now. You don't want me to, give up my cover. I'm Ishido's ally. And he's really playing this very dangerous game. And
Yes.
he ends up convincing Josen. He's like, look, stay the night. Let me show you what we are capable of. Let me show you
Mhm.
this new battle tactic. And I will send you back to Ishido, and you can have this intel to start countering it, to start knowing what to do with it. And he like shows he shows this brilliant sort of like, again, playing both sides, where he's not committing to one, but he's not committing to the other. Josen agrees to stay the night to come to practice the next day. Toranaga's son gets mad though. He's like, wait a minute, what are you doing right now? Why didn't you just actively refuse them? And he's like, oh,
Right.
I can't do that. You know, I don't want to risk tensions. And again, he plays it like a fiddle and tells him straight up, you know, oh yeah, or plays it like a shamisen. Hey, let's keep it. And he tells them, of course I'm devoted to your father. Of course I'm your father's sworn ally. I would never, ever, 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 ever risk that. So then they convene, you know, then we have our spicy scenes, then we have our morning after scene, and we show up. Or that night, we also get another scene where Toranaga's son is talking to an advisor. He's like, hey, what are you going to do? We can't let them know that we have these cannons. We simply can't allow this intel to get back to Ishido. And Toranaga's son is like, I'll figure it out. Let me figure it out.
This was bananas, like bananas, because
she went from 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah. Toranaga's son forced Yabushiga's hand in this instance. So he didn't allow Yabushiga to do his whole, you know, song and dance, tap dance out of it. But we also don't know if Yabushiga's plan would have worked, because Mariko says if he's taken back to Lord Ishido, like he'll most likely have to commit seppuku.
Yes.
And perhaps Yabushiga could have weaseled his way out of it, but we don't know.
Yeah.
So
he's very much damned if you do, damned if you don't at this point.
Right. So as on one hand, I feel like Toranaga's son, like, oh, that was like the wrong move, buddy. Like, but on the other hand, I'm like, well, like, wasn't war kind of coming anyways? And like, this was your last ditch effort to like make sure that intel doesn't get out. I mean, we had talked about this on Discord, but how did you put it? Do you remember?
So first off, for the scene, so Toranaga's son says, I'll come up with a plan. They show up the next day. I even love that Yabashige notices that Blackthorn's wearing the swords now, and he's like, oh, a barbarian wearing swords.
Right.
That's a bad omen. And that should have ticked us all right there. Wait a minute. And so Yabashige says that don't worry, Toranaga's son here has selected the demonstration for today. You guys are going to know exactly what we're capable of. Thank you so much for being here today. And I love that Toranaga's son kind of sets him up because he straight up just talks some smack to the enemy is what it looked like.
Yeah.
Toranaga's son comes up to the front and he pulls out his sword and he says, you are enemies of my father. You are my enemy and I will see you killed.
Yeah.
You know, does the signal with his sword, and all of a sudden cannon fire from hidden within the woods are more cannons that we didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And it boom, boom, boom takes out the entire retinue. And this, it's so beautiful because not only do we get a real like demonstration of, oh, these cannons are going to wreak havoc, but we also get to see the makeup artists and the graphic artists and their work. Oh, wow. Because this whole troop of people are mangled.
Like splurting stumps. Like I'm no delicate little flower, like a little bit of gore I'm fine with, but like this was like, I was like, oh shit. Like,
you got this
ham with those cannons.
Charred patch of earth, horses and men like laying like Jozen himself is laying on his side, arm just like ripped, not cut, not ripped. It is shredded. And leg shredded, and he's sitting there screaming. He's like, you've brought war to us. You're going to die. And Toranaga's son gets down and is like, nope, you're going to die. Cuts his head off.
Not today, bucko.
and Mariko and Blackthorn are like, what is happening?
Yeah. And then she's like,
um,
war is coming. Yeah.
but this is it. This is it. This is the shot heard round the world, right? This
Mm-hmm.
is the fuse. This is the light, the lit fuse that now sends us to war. Which, in all fairness, like you were saying, war was coming either way. There was the powder keg was already there. The fuse was already there. It was just waiting for an excuse. We just wanted someone to light it, and then Toranaga's son did. Now the conversation we had was whether or not Toranaga was going to be happy about this.
Right.
Toranaga obviously knows this is coming, right?
I feel
I
like
don't
he
know that
has
he,
to.
yeah. Well, especially with his resignation, with him fleeing the castle at Osaka, like he knows he's preparing for war at this point in time. And
Right. There's a reason he's not there.
he even tells Yabashige's military, his security force there, dark shadows are clouding over Japan. Like he's basically saying we're going to go to war.
Right.
And then he leaves, and presumably that's what he's doing, right? He's going to other villages and prefects and leaders and mustering an army to march on Osaka.
That's what I would assume. Yes.
That's what we would all, I think that's that's what we are meant to believe. So is Toranaga going to be happy about this? I think publicly he's going to be very frustrated. I think he's going to put on a show of being very frustrated about this because it's too soon. It's too soon.
Mm-hmm.
But where he's that smart, where he's that, layered in his tactics, I think he's expecting something like this to happen at any minute. And I think he'll be just fine with it. I think he's prepared, or at least prepared enough to start this campaign. But I don't know. So I think my official prediction is that he's going to pretend like he's mad about it, but in his little private councils where he likes to tell women their butts are big, he's going to be very, I don't know that he's going to be happy about it, but I think he's going to be like, yeah, no, this was expected. Like,
yeah, this was a part of my plan. Or that's when you said that when we were talking on Discord, I was like, if that is correct, you win the Golden Katana Award.
The Golden Katana Award. I want to win the Golden Katana.
Because Toranaga, the way that they've built him up so far throughout the season, he's always a step ahead, and he knows his son, and that's why he hasn't given his son a certain place, because he said pretty much outright that like his son can't hide his third heart. He's too obvious in his like choices, I think.
And what does he know about Yabashige? He knows Yabashige is a weasel, so I wonder if he's hoping that Yabashige is going to, his maneuverings are going to counteract his son's hot-headedness, but is expecting that the conflict will begin in Yabashige's prefect because Ishido is going to be targeting Yabashige as an ally. He already knows that.
Right.
Which is another reason why I think Toranaga's made such a big show of being like, Yabashige is my friend.
Yeah. Because now it all works.
Presenting a target to Ishido. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Strike here. Mm-hmm. Good. That's what I want you to do. And it even adds to the validity of that his son is there. Oh, his son is there. Mm-hmm. If we strike there, we can take out his son, and that's a big blow. And I think I definitely think Toranaga's got something else up his sleeve. So we'll see. We'll see.
I'm really excited. And for the people who are watching, neither of us have read the book. We don't know how this I don't know how this story goes.
I gotta look on Audible. I think I have an Audible credit. I'm gonna see if I can find it because I kind of want to read it now.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I really hope that like right off the bat, next episode, we are spending time with Toranaga and getting to see what his outward facing plan was, what his inward facing plan is. We want to see all the hearts. All 3 hearts.
Apparently there are 2 books. Part 1 and part 2. So it is kind of a series. Oh, there's a lot.
He's a pretty, I know James Clavell has written many books. And I know that when asked about this series, they said it'll just be, 1 season. We're not going to like milk this out. But I mean, I'm assuming this is doing so well. Maybe that'll open things up and they want to adapt another one of his books.
Well,
that would be pretty great.
There are 8 titles on Audible. There's Shogun Part 1, Shogun Part 2. I'm assuming what that means is that they've got it's one of those, where they put the sound effects and they put the dramatization in there.
Yeah.
And then they've got Taipan, Gaijin, King Rat, Noble House, Whirlwind, and Escape are all books written by James Clavell that is also in this series.
Okay, interesting.
But like book 2 is the epic novel of the founding of Hong Kong.
Okay, so probably not like the same characters, not the same.
Book 3 is the birth of modern Japan. So yeah. So for all intents and purposes, it looks as though Shogun Part 1 and Part 2 are going to be what's covered in this sort of series. And that actually kind of brings up an interesting point too. And I know we're over an hour, but I don't care. I'm enjoying the conversation. I like this because one of my favorite movies of all time is Master and Commander of the Far Side of the World. I know it's dry as hell to some people.
I love that you love that though.
It's fine. You can find it boring. I won't judge you. I understand. I get it.
That's Russell Crowe, right?
Yes, Russell Crowe and Paul Bettany. It's wonderful. I love it. I love it so much. And I love it so much that I decided I was going to read the book because it is based on a book. What I didn't know is that it's based on like 6 books.
Here we go.
And those books are the most boring books I have ever read in my life. There is an entire segment. Well, first off, Stephen, the ship's doctor, Paul Bettany's character, is a spy.
Oh.
Is straight up a spy. He is literal international man of mystery. That's just not covered at all in the movie. Not at all.
Well.
In the books, it's like book 3 or 4 before Captain Jack even gets the HMS Surprise. He's on like 4 different ships before then. There's a whole segment where France and England are at war. They get stuck in the Mediterranean and they have to cross France to get back to England. And he's in a bear skin, acting like a bear so that he can be smuggled. And Stephen is like smuggling him across the French countryside. Like,
that sounds delightful.
The book is wild. It is wild.
It reminds me of that scene in Red Rising.
Yes! Another great book series. But so where I was going with this is where this is 2 books, 50 hours of audiobook between the 2 books, right? One's like 24, one's like 29 hours long. I feel like if I read this book, I'm gonna wait till the series we're done watching the series to read the book. But I feel like I have to read the book now, and I feel like there's gonna be a lot more in the political intrigue and a lot more in just a lot more, and I can't wait. I'm really excited about it.
Or you'll just have like new characters that you're following around. Which something like that.
Something like that. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Let's call this a day. Amber, Shogun so far. Like, how are you loving it? Like, let's hear this one out. What's going on?
So it's essentially became my whole personality for this month. Like that's my hyper fixation for the month of this month. This month.
For the month of this month.
For this
No, you know
March.
what? There's
For
no
this
judgment
March.
there at all.
I almost
Wow.
said May, and I'm like, that's not right. That's
Hell
not
of
right.
a year we've had so far, right? It's only March. It's only March. Shut up.
But no, like there's a couple of shows that I'm like really enjoying, looking forward to. Like Dune Dune was great, had a great time seeing that. Like I feel like there's so many good shows and
Yeah.
things to like pick up right now and see. It's really nice. And I love, a good period drama. And this is
Yes.
it's great.
Yeah, I got to agree. One of the things I said at the beginning of this collaboration series was, when you do these period pieces especially when it comes to like Japanese period pieces, you either have to lean into the sort of grit of the story and really not be afraid to tell that story, or you got to get kind of slapsticky with it and let it
Yeah.
kind of go off the rails and get a little cheesy. And they're doing a really good job of embracing sort of the dark, gritty nature of the story, and it's just done so beautifully, and I love it so much.
Yeah. There's the grit, there's the humor, it's got it all. So
It's got everything. It's everything you ever want.
yeah.
So Amber, once again, remind the people where they can find you.
Yes, Road to Tarvalin, and I'm sure Josh will link it below. So just go there if you want to see a
absolutely do.
previous episode, and the next episode for episode 5 will be on my channel.
That's right. So I will have in the description below, I will have Amber's YouTube channel tagged. I will also have the link for the episode 3 discussion in the link below. So follow that back. And then, yeah. Thanks for geeking out with us today. Thanks for joining us for this discussion of episode 4 of Shogun.
Thanks for joining one geek and one Amber.
One geek, one Amber. Well, no, the 2 geeks is us collectively as geeks and talking to the world.
Yeah.
Through our mic.
Yes. I'm just a standby geek until your number 1 geek returns. So.
That's right. Which he's working tonight, so I'm gonna have to figure out. I'm probably gonna be doing. Which by the way, if you want some of our cosplay related material, this is me working on my leather pauldron for JordanCon. So yeah, I gotta start working on it pretty seriously.
It's time.
So, it is time. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. Amber, thanks for being here. Thanks for this collab. I'm having a lot of fun with that. And to everybody out there, wherever you are, hope you leave just a little bit more geeky than you were when you first got here. And as always, stay geeky, my friends.